I guess today I can talk about perception bubbles and programming and understanding who we are within the paradigm of our perception, our life bubble, and our programming. Because they're all kind of interlinked, but they're not the same. You see, your perception is how you view the world, it's how you input the reality around you and perceive it. And it goes through a filter. And your filter is your bias, which is basically your bubble, and your programming. So I could say your bias is a mixture of your life bubble and your programming. They're not the same thing. So with perception, we have all of these filters that was basically programmed into us. And we look at the world through this lens that's very skewed towards programming and our life situation, which is our bubble. And we tend to be hard on ourselves and each other because we don't understand the simple concept that we don't see reality the same way the next person to us does, because they have a different life bubble and a different programming, which causes them to have a different perception. How they perceive the world is completely different. And I like to bring this back to the idea of religion and how across the world, various religions arose based on how they interpreted their surroundings and the world around them. And it's fascinating because all of them are pretty, they have a similar thread at times. Usually some beings came down from the sky and blessed with some knowledge and some technology, and then they evolved. But I'm not going to get into the whole philosophy of religion and how it might actually be interaction with otherworldly beings. That's another topic. But how these religions formed created, I will call it, a societal bubble of how they perceive the world. That's what they built their beliefs on. And knowing early humans didn't have the level of communication when it comes to writing things down, everything was oral. So everything was stored within the human memory, which is not that reliable. And then tradition after tradition, each generation, the oral lessons were passed down. And before, if it was just a simple truth of these beings came from the sky and granted us knowledge, became these gods came from the sky and created us. But yes, that's how perception links with the bubble of your reality and your programming. You're programmed into your society by your society, and that created a bubble for you. And if in that bubble, you see the world differently. I'm sure I spoke about identity and ego before on this channel, and identity and ego go hand in hand. Ego is what you identify with. That's your identity. That's not your true self. It's something you adopt that you believe is you, even though it's not really the true you as the observer of the universe. So for me, going through this life and being, I would call it, relatively unprogrammed by the religious society that I was brought up in, I was still taken to church, but for me, everything was questioned. My programming was always questioned. And when you question your reality that much, the programming and the indoctrination has less of a strong hold on you. So my programming, even though it is there, but it's more trauma-based. It's more of how I reacted when my mother left me, or how I reacted when my adoptive mother wasn't nice to me. It's more of an emotional safety net that my programming is built upon, rather than strong religious beliefs or societal beliefs. I'm not a strong nationalist. I'm not a strong religious person. I don't have these strong beliefs that most people are programmed to have when they were brought up in their society, in their bubble. And being able to empathize with everyone without holding on to a strong belief basically created an alien of sorts. So there's benefits to not having a strong programming where you can literally read the religious texts and scrutinize it like, this doesn't make any sense. Versus, okay, I'm just going to believe this and I'm going to fit nice and coherently with everyone around me. You put another weight on your shoulder because you doing that become a black sheep. And it's very hard for you to connect with the other flock if you don't sink into the programming that they were given as well. So for me, growing up, it was always a feeling of alienation. And it was very scary because once you understand the concept of programming a life bubble and perception, it's like you start to see the world in an almost fearful sense because you realize that no one is seeing reality for what it is. It's like a collective illusion or delusion of sorts. And they have many bubbles. There are many religions in the world. There are many tribes of different types of faiths. And you can look at all of them if you haven't been strongly programmed, and you can scrutinize each of them, but you don't feel strongly attached to any of them because you can usually see the flaws in it. It might be plain as day to you. It might be, oh, this is obviously a flaw. Like, how can anyone not see this flaw? But they can't see that flaw because the programming has been so well done that no one, it's very hard for a regular human being to step outside of themselves and see that they've been programmed. And it's very hard when you, if you can do that, to say, hey, I want to change the program. It's not that simple because those core foundational years of your youth really set who you will be. And it's very hard to shake that core foundation and evolve as a being. That being said, I'm not going to say religion is bad or good. I'm not here to put a judge and be the almighty judge of religion and say religion is pure cojones and, everyone's completely illusioned. Because in a fair perspective, I'm also seeing through a lens of a bubble as well. You can almost say that just because I haven't been programmed in the same way others have doesn't mean I don't have my own program. So I can't come and I can't say my way is better or that I see reality much clearer, which is kind of a difficult thing because even though I'm open to scrutiny and I'm willing to debate and to question beliefs, I realize that a lot of beliefs don't allow that. They don't allow you to really question your beliefs. And even if you do question them, you're always in a place of, you're arguing from a place of, I don't care what you say, nothing over here is going to change. And that, for me, feels a bit like a stagnation point. But the point I was trying to go with this whole topic of perception, bubble, and programming is just being kind and understanding when you interact with anyone with different programming from you, and understand, well, try as you may, that you yourself have a different bubble, a different programming, and a different perception of the world. Your bubble is basically your life. What you do from day to day, your activities, your hobbies, your faith, that's your bubble. Your programming is what has been done to you and taught to you as a child. That's what your parents gave you, your society gave you. Your perception is how all that filters through your eyes, that bubble and that programming to make you see the world. And understanding that you yourself are seeing the world through a very filtered lens can lend compassion to the fact that your friend is also seeing the world through a very filtered lens. I think we get a bit upset when people aren't like us, when the world can't just accept what we accept. And my challenge in this little rant of a video is being able to almost be a center of peace within my relationships. It's a form of non-resistance, which is the essence of, I guess, my own core beliefs of being non-present and resistant to the world around you creates more suffering, which I guess aligns more with Buddhism, But I wouldn't call myself a Buddhist. I just think Buddhism is a philosophy more than a religion. It's not about gods or saving your soul. Yes, you can escape to nirvana and exit the cycle. But it's more of a philosophy on how to live without suffering. Acknowledging that life is suffering, your desires cause you suffering. Desires is just another word for resistance of the present, because you're never happy, you're never content. There's always something else you want. But underlying all of that is presence and resistance. And the resistance you feel towards the world around you can create internal strife and internal suffering. It goes against the universal flow and the universal law of change, where everything is always in motion, always in flux. And to accept that change means that you yourself have no resistance to change or to what's happening around you. That doesn't mean non-action. That means you sit, you accept, and then you move. You make a steady choice through accepting what already is. For example, if you were being mugged, you're not going to be like, oh, I accept the mugging, let it happen. If you know what to do, for example, you realize, I'm being mugged. Okay, what have I learned about being mugged? Okay, I'm going to follow these principles. Resistance will look like, oh my God, this can't be happening to me. This can't be real. That's non-acceptance of your reality. That's what we call resistance. But acceptance is acknowledgement of how you're feeling in the moment, what's happening around you. And when you do those things, then you can respond accordingly. So for me, when I have my own perception of the world, my own bubble, and my own programming, it's just to accept that my resistance towards other bubbles and other programming, I guess, creates suffering and conflict. And for someone who seeks deeper inner peace and deeper growth, acknowledging this and working to be more accepting, I find will lead to that goal. This video is already longer than I anticipated, but speaking about perception, life bubble, and programming is a lot. And I didn't cover, I don't think, the majority of it with this little talk of mine. But this, for me, is very important. Accepting people as they are, accepting the human race as it is, accepting myself for who I am, understand the principles of perception, life bubble, and programming is important. And if you can do that, if you can truly accept other people for who they are, despite their programming being different, you'll see the beauty instead of the resistance you feel. Because there are many beautiful tribes, there are many beautiful religions. And yes, you will see a lot of beautiful stuff, but you'll also see some crazy stuff, some insane stuff, stuff that you wonder, what were these people thinking? But at the end of the day, I believe every human is trying to do their own form of good. They're trying to find their own form of love and care, and they all just want to be happy. So focus on the good. Focus on the beauty of these humans. You might not agree with everything they do, and that's okay. Have some acceptance towards them, give love to them, and you will find that the world is not as scary as you thought it ought to be. And that's a word to myself, who was very scared when he read the Bible. But yes, that is my rant for today. If you like my videos, please leave a like. If you want to see more of me, please subscribe. And leave a comment about your bubble. What's your reality? What's your programming? How do you see the world? And have an awesome day.